I will take you on a journey into celebration with sometimes a lot of tears and joy. Welcome to the Festival of the Dead 1999. Just imagine all the history here in the cemetery, all the past experiences and lives that have merged into one place. There's a lot of history behind the Day of the Dead Festival, starting from very way back, where there were cultures such as African religion that in order to keep some of their culture, they merged it with Catholicism, as you can see in the history books, to take you back to the Day of the Dead. Spanish culture or Latin American, there are many different subcultures there. Paper cutting, they used a lot of sweets. They would come down to the cemeteries and they would lay out a spread of either sweets or something favorite or photographs or create shrines and have a feast with their loved one at least one day of the year. The history of the Festival of the Dead is not only the merging of passing on, but the rebirth of something where people, communities, young and old alike, get together for a common cause and a common understanding that will help bring stronger family ties, stronger friendships, and bring you into something you have never experienced before.
Missoula's Festival of the Dead started 7 years ago, and it was based on the Mexican Day of the Dead, the concept of celebrating and remembering people who've passed on, and Missoula's festival takes place every year at the same time as the Mexican festival, and we're here to celebrate, remember, and honor deceased loved ones, and doing it in an artistic way, trying to find artistic methods to remember people that we've lost and cared about. And every year it gets a little bigger and a little more community support, but it really does stem from the Latin festival, which has been going on for several centuries now.
And the Latin Festival, actually, I think is seeing sort of an increasing popularity and awareness. You're seeing a lot more people in the U.S., other parts of the world, who are learning more and more about the Latin American Mexican Day of the Dead. And so, you're seeing a lot more celebrations happening at that time of the year around the world. Certainly, it's a holiday that celebrates the interconnectedness between life and death, celebrating life and, like Mike said, honoring those who've passed away. So in Mexico, it's a very festive time. Night-long vigils are held. Lots of celebration, flowers, decorations, making special foods and making special offerings to the dead, spending the nights in the graveyard. And here in Missoula, we we've tried to do some similar things, but we also describe our festival here as a multicultural celebration of life, death, and the arts.
And I think that's an important difference from the Latin festival. Even though we are very much influenced by the Latin festival, it's really important to understand that due to the nature of American culture and the diversity in various ethnicities and religious beliefs and philosophies within our culture, it's important. One of the important guidelines behind the festival is that we try to address issues of death and dying in methods that are open to anyone, through any way they see fit. It is really an important distinction. I think the other important aspect of it is one of the things that I think our culture is battling right now is issues where art is not seen as an important part of our culture, and we're seeing more and more of that in our politics all the time. And I think one of the aspects that the festival tries to do is address a very specific cause, a need of addressing issues of mortality and using the arts, and as a way of doing that. The Latin culture, I think, most of their festivals are very much arts oriented, and I think that one of the things we try and do is bring the arts into this festival every year, and more so every year. Every year we try to expand how the arts are played into this.
Primary focuses also has been to provide an arena, to provide opportunities for people in our community and in the surrounding area to participate in thinking about and expressing themselves in regard to issues of death and dying, issues of life and death. And there just aren't that many opportunities that exist right now for people to really confront some of those issues in such a direct way. So although we have a very heavy emphasis in regard to the arts community, and we're inviting artists to do all this wonderful creative expression and to come down, especially for the parade, the nighttime procession that we have, but also we try to provide some educational opportunities and some workshops and presentations that also allow people to really examine aspects of their own mortality and to really take a harder look at how we view death and dying in our culture and in our society. Slowly, a lot of change is happening, but it's very slow.
And I think there's kind of a dichotomy that sort of takes place at the festival. I think from one aspect, I think we have an element involved who are trying to address those issues of mortality in almost a comical way, trying to address it, almost making fun, taunting death. And then there's the other faction that tends to be a little more sober and address it a little more, perhaps a little more personally, a little more sentimentally. I think, regardless of how it's approached, though, I think that's a very simplistic way of looking at the spectrum of people involved, because it goes beyond that. But I think it's a strange mix, though, and I think that I think it's an accurate depiction of how we feel about death, though. I think on one hand we sort of have this need to make fun of that which we are afraid of and fear, and then on the other side, we have to address it on a serious level at some point too. And I think it's a strange occurrence to see these two emotions sort of gel together in an event.
Variety, the type of distinctions and variety that Mike is talking about can also be seen in the events that are held every year. And we try to provide an arena for example, we have a night of readings, which is called the Eve of the Dead, where a number of writers and readers come together and share the work that they have created in regard to issues of death and dying, issues of life and death. And it ranges from the very humorous, being able to, really sort of being able to laugh kind of in the face of death, and some of the more humorous aspects, in addition to some very heartwarming, tearful kinds of stories about death experiences and so forth. And then that's also seen in the procession too, where we'll have people who are, carrying candles, and they've made shrines. They're in a very solemn, even tearful, grieving sort of mode. In addition to people who've created these large, wacky skeletons and creatures, and there's just such a wide range. And I think that we both feel that there's a real importance and a real significance in regard to providing that whole open spectrum for people to come and express. It's just wide open.
Soldiers saying, "Poor peace, disparaged, free, motley for the disparaged."
Do the rivers freeze by themselves? Train I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Our fear does not consume. We take it and make it our own. We take the fire within us. We take it.
The fire will not consume us. We take it and make it our own. We take the fire within us. Take it and make it our own. The fire will not consume us. We take it and make it our own.
Well, I think, it's appropriate that at the moment we're sitting in front of these pieces by Holly Andrus, which was a series that was done in honor of her mother, who passed away, what was it, within a year or so?
I think a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
1 to 2 years ago.
Yeah, and this is just an example of the types of things that the festival attempts to encourage, using the arts as a method of addressing our mortality along with other people's mortality. It's a way of working through issues, remembering people. It's a way of finding those people that we've lost to death and reuniting with them once again.
And generally, I think in our society, we simply don't take the proper time to grieve. And I think that it's not really encouraged in our society to really confront death in a very intensive, very direct kind of way. So we've never really done the proper grieving. And I know that Mike and I have both found that in some of the workshops and some of the presentations and art performances that have happened at festival time, that we have actually gotten feedback from people who have actually been able to sort of come to grips with the death of a loved one, of a family member, whoever, and they've been able to actually grieve in a much more intensive kind of way. And they're with other people who are also doing their own kinds of struggling and their own kinds of facing these similar issues. And so it's very helpful to be in a group of people that are all kind of focused on the same general idea.
He was covering some of the events associated with the festival, and during the events of the festival, his father had passed away, and I ran into him directly after the procession, and he told me that his father passed away, and and that his family really wanted him to, essentially leave and go to, I think it was Kansas is where his father was at, and he said, no, I need to actually stay here. I need to be a part of this procession. I need to work through it. And I think that's, I think that's the proper attitude. I think that's, I'm not saying that he shouldn't maybe have gone to Kansas, but I think that he felt that there was a deeper need that he needed to do for his father. And somehow this Missoula Festival sort of fit what he needed, and that's really all we're trying to do is allow people to find the things that they need, and we're not offering any advice. We're just offering a venue that will help people discover for themselves methods that they can grieve and remember and cherish the memories of people that they've lost.
We also have a pretty strong emphasis on family and on community. And so one of our main areas of focus is just trying to provide opportunities for families to come together and celebrate together. And oftentimes, especially when we work with little kids in school settings or whatever, they're more apt to just talk about the fact that their grandfather just died, or the family dog, or there's usually someone who's recently died, and you're not really sure how the family has really dealt with the whole death. And we've had some really wonderful experiences of seeing whole families come together to make a shrine or to carry something in the procession together, and they're really banding together, which is what happens in Mexico and the Latin American countries, where entire families are coming down and they're spending the evenings in the family cemetery plots, and you know, it's a pretty exciting thing. And then expanding from there into community. And so what we really want to do is provide this event for the community of Missoula and the surrounding area, for people to come together and actually look at some of these issues together and work together. We've been very excited. Each year, that whole sense of community seems to increase and become a bit stronger. And more people, more and more businesses in the downtown area, more and more organizations are kind of jumping on the bandwagon. They're making shrines and ofrendas. They're becoming sponsors, and we're really excited to see that happen.
I think ultimately our goal with this whole event is that at some point Bev and myself won't be necessary anymore. That somehow this event will just, like in Mexico, that somehow this event will just happen. You know, the community will, every year people will see, you know, as we get closer to November that it's time for the Festival of the Dead, and they'll just do it on their own, and we won't really be around, and hopefully that'll be a legacy that's left behind. We'll see.
And also that people would become more comfortable embracing death and being able to understand, and be more accepting of that transition that happens between life and death. And another thing that we really want to emphasize with the Festival of the Dead is that that any expression, any person with any belief or idea or expression is totally welcomed. We want everyone to come and participate, and we really love it when people want to share their ideas and share their stories, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I would say that every year we're always looking for something new, something different, some new creative aspect to incorporate into the festival, and that's that's what it's all about. You know, finding new and exciting ways to address our mortality. I'm Mike DeMeng. I'm an artist and festival coordinator.
And I'm Bev Glueckert. I'm also a festival coordinator and an artist here in town. And Mike and I actually have a pretty long history of working together. And we had the idea for the Festival of the Dead back in 1992, I believe. We actually got the first festival off the ground in 1993. And actually Mike's idea. You know, looking at this holiday in Mexico and the Latin American countries, and wondering, you know, why can't we do a similar festival here? So we started working on it, and it's grown by leaps and bounds. And you know, we're excited to see the future of the festival, and just doing what we can do to ensure that it continues to grow.
What's this year for the festival? What year is it?
The seventh year. Yeah, we just finished our seventh festival.
Was no specific theme. Every year the festival changes in some regard, but you know, the basic issues every year are the same. But yeah, we really don't have, you know, each year isn't devoted to a different concept or a different idea. It's just different idea, you know, different people involved, a lot of times more people involved each time. But yeah, in terms of different themes, yeah, we haven't really, there are different ideas we'd like to try every year, different concepts, different approaches, different ways of incorporating more of the community, and that's a big task. Considering that when it started, it was pretty much isolated to a lot of university involvement, and subsequently the festival has grown to now we have business involvement, we have family involvement, various churches are involved now from various denominations, you know, and it has grown from something pretty small to something very large. In fact, you know, other communities around the state are starting to do their own little version, you know, of the Latin festival and Missoula's festival, and so that's encouraging, and hopefully that will continue. You know, we'll start seeing more and more communities starting to address this issue.
Procession, first of all, which is sort of the core event of our festival. And it's popular because people really like a nighttime parade. And it's pretty much, it's the only nighttime parade in Missoula. And it's a little iffy because it's in the beginning of November and we never know what the weather's going to be like. We've always kind of lucked out, and that's been great. But there's something really wonderful about just that chilly nighttime air and everybody coming out with candles and all these costumes and everybody expressing in a different way. And so we're really pleased about how the procession has grown, and we'll continue to pretty much focus on the procession as being the primary event of the festival. Oh, and then I was going to talk about the fact that Mike and I both have a pretty lengthy history of working with and partnering with persons with disabilities. And I also work for VSA Montana, who is also our co-sponsor. And through VSA, we work with a multitude of groups and individuals with disabilities, people with brain injuries, and people with physical disabilities. We work with children in special education programs, and we have quite a focus on really trying to encourage involvement and participation from people with disabilities. And that's kind of been one of the highlights for me personally in these last 7 years, is working with a lot of those folks.
This year and last year as well, we did have some very direct participation in terms of performances from some folks with disabilities. This year in particular, there was a theater performance, and I think it was particularly poignant from the standpoint of one of the cast members actually passed away just prior to the performance, probably within a couple weeks, Brad Cornelius. And so the remaining cast members, you know, did essentially their performance in honor of Brad, and so I think that I think that for those actors involved, I think that it was, you know, especially an especially important performance. And I think that, it became really apparent, of what the nature of this event is and why this event goes on. I think each year we're going to try and have that same group also perform along with, various other people. Every year, too, in terms of different groups, we're always trying to expand it. We've done, some things with people with disabilities, obviously. We're trying to expand to addressing issues such as AIDS and other, more specific issues like that, too, and involve those support groups that are, involved with those issues each year as well. So, it's always growing. There's always something new that happens in our culture and our society that somehow we have to address, in the festival as well.
Enacted by none other than the authors themselves. We begin with Pat Tacky and his captivating tale of Batman caught in the land of the dead. Take a bow, dancing ciao, toodaloo, ta-ta. That's my fantasy anyway. And how's that for a beginning? Take a job, beginner. And finally, I'd like to read Brad Cornelius's poem on John Denver. Sadly, Brad, who suffered from Prader-Willi syndrome, died of a heart attack on October 9th, days after writing this poem. I read it now in his memory. Can you all hear me, or is the feedback? Poem on John Denver. Okay, this poem was written by Brad, who died on Saturday, October 9th, and we're going to read it in his memory. Poem on John Denver. John Denver is my favorite person. I sing just like him. The song called Annie is on my record, and I sing along with it. I sing in the talent show, and when I do, I win. People at the Edgewater Hotel think that John Denver was there. John Denver made his airplane. His airplane had a faulty wire in the motor. This is very tragic. When he went down in the ocean, it was catastrophic. His plane, downfall of a great music star. John Denver is a great man, and people always liked John Denver. Brad was a great man too. Everyone who knew him loved him. So let's honor his memory and put our hands together for the entire cast of Dance the Crowd, both the living and the dead.
We're also very fortunate here in Missoula to have the Missoula Demonstration Project located here, which is a temporary research project. They've been gathering data for a number of years in regard to the quality of life's end. So just taking a look at the quality of the end of a person's life and how it is for people dying in the Missoula area. And they've got some incredible information and have been receiving a lot of grants and doing some amazing work in the field. So it's been nice to do some projects in partnership with Missoula Demonstration Project, and just to have them here to help us with information and to collaborate together on some events. Although the roots and the origins of Missoula's Festival of the Dead are founded in the ideas of the Mexican and Latin American Day of the Dead, we really want to encourage all participants to draw on their own family and historical traditions and beliefs, and to develop their own ideas in regard to issues of death and dying and self-expression. We just really want to encourage people to learn more about some of the death rituals and celebrations that happen around the world in nearly every culture, and they are very, very different from one another. There are all kinds of celebrations around the globe. And for more information on Missoula's Festival of the Dead or the Mexican Latin American Day of the Dead, we certainly welcome people to call us at either 721-3806 or 728-5846, and we would be happy to provide information on where you can order some books and materials, or if you'd like us to come in and talk to your students or your organization, we're happy to come in and talk with people in the community, so we would welcome those opportunities.